Okay, so the last key that I press is shown in the upper left corner. Now, Shift Escape gets out of a window, or that aborts, and Alt Shift A to get rid of the autocomplete. We're going to look at the Atom directory, Control M, Atom. Okay, so stage 1 is the kernel, stage 2 is Atom. The Atom task is in Adam and Eve. Executes this during boot. It compiles how many lines of code? At this point, 46,000 lines of code have been compiled. That's during boot. What that would include would be 35,000 in the Atom directory, and then my own personal startup code in my account. Anyway, so the Atom, this is executed by Atom at boot. It includes a bunch of files. It goes into directory, and it includes what would you call those? Recursive files? I don't know what you want to call them. Anyway, so what do we have in Atom? We have let's see, the window manager. This is one of the most important. This is one of the most important things. If you do a task rep, there are some standard tasks used that are always present. You don't have a frame grabber. That's because I'm making this video. The window manager executes 30 times a second. It does a couple other things like pull the mouse, but the window manager updates the whole screen 30 times a second. This task is the current task. Then the Atom task is Control B, and we can go up, and Atom is this window right here. He stays in a server kind of configuration. His tasks inherit stuff from their parents, and since all tasks are children of Atom, system-wide stuff is associated with Atom. Like if you give Atom some, you can get memory that's allocated on Atom's heap. His symbol table is inherited by everybody. So what that means is if a symbol's not found, it searches Atom. Anyway, so you can also, he's supposed to be a like a server kind of. I've never really utilized this capability, but honestly, I have a lot of things I never use. Let's make Atom say hello. So hello. It's we have to. I think this is right. Okay, I made Atom say hello. You saw that. You can tell him to execute code like I just did. What I just told him to do was this. Anyway, that's kind of like the crosstalk. You could also use crosstalk. But anyway, so there are some standard tasks, a window manager and Atom. Then Adam's son is Seth in the Bible. So Seth is there's more than one Seth, which is kind of weird. And Atom is called the Seth task on core 0. Anyway, so where were we? So the window manager is one of the. This task is always present. The wallpaper is printed by the window manager. So in the window manager, what it does is the way it operates is it has a sleep routine which kills time. Now, if you grab a window by a corner, then what it does is it's kind of like a state machine. It gets into a if it gets into a state, and while it's killing time, it's executing the sleep routine, which is let's see how many. Okay, well, anyway, so the sleep routine gets executed lots of times. I think it does 1/30th of a second each time. Now, where is the sleep routine? I don't know. Anyway, so the Windows routines, I think this is all Window Manager. Here's the sleep. Now it pulls the mouse in one spot. Keyboard mouse handler. That's if the mouse failed or something like that. Oh, I'm sorry. During startup, it does that. It pulls the mouse. I think if we check this routine, it's if the mouse fails. If pull mouse, do this. Otherwise, we don't pull the mouse. But we execute. I think we execute this 60 times a second or something like that, maybe. 500 times a second. No, anyway. So this is where the Window Manager sleeps. And 30 times a second. Actually, it's adjustable, but it calls update screen. Now that brings us to the graphics code. Update screen is in GR screen at the bottom. This is the main routine called by the Window Manager. The Window Manager paints the screen 30 times a second. Anyway, if you're in text mode, it does a slightly different thing. You're almost never, don't worry, text mode is not normal. Anyway, so it updates the background to text, it updates the foreground to text, then it updates all the window documents, renders all the window documents, then each window has a document for the text. A border document and a main document, and it can be double buffered. But anyway, this is the routine we're going to look at. Update Windows. So this goes through all the tasks on Core 0. Only Core 0 can have Windows, and it since the user is allowed to fudge around with tasks, we have to validate that the user didn't do something. A little kid could put a crayon in the blender or something. I don't know. Anyway, so we check to see if the task is valid. That's kind of normally you wouldn't have that, but since we allow users to mess with system stuff, makes it a little more robust in theory. Although if it fails, it probably fails fatally. It's probably fatal. Anyway, if that's a special case if it's a Window Manager. Otherwise, it updates the documents like I told you, and it calls the draw it callback 30 times a second. Each task has an option of drawing some graphics. That's the draw it callback. Now, I tried to make a picture of how graphics are rendered. It's kind of graphic overview. So if you look up here, the text we saw where it did the foreground and background, it lags a refresh. Now, so when it updates the documents, that writes to the text layer. I think it actually, and it kind of, it lags a refresh on the text, but if you put graphics in your draw it or in your document, they're not lagging. That's kind of a minor point or something. Anyway, so it goes through all the tasks. We saw where it goes through all the tasks. It renders the documents to the text layer. Then it calls the draw it routine. Then it draws controls. You see this little square down here? I don't know if you can see. How about over here? No, we can't. None of them are active. Hold on a second. I'm grabbing the scroll bar. The scroll bar, that is a control. So it draws the control for each task. And finally, there's a persistent layer, which is if we're at the command line and we say gr circle, now the persistent layer is the default. 100, 100, 100. That's the persistent layer. Anyway, so I don't know what else you want to know. You can I could maybe do a video on the 3D support. In a device context, we have some automatic projecting using a matrix 4x4. So yeah, there is some 3D code in the graphics routines. There's a 2D version and there's a 3D version of most things. Anyway, so that'll get you started. What else was there in the Atom directory? The utilities, there's a grep, a diff, file manager. There's some bitmap files for Windows support. Memrep is a nice utility. I never use it, honestly. In theory, it's nice. I don't know. I never use it. There's a check disk. There's Profiler's nice. I have a spaces to tabs. I run that. If you make a string in your code, you might want to use shift space so that you can use spaces to tab. My tabs are always 8 characters. This will render HTML with syntax highlighting. You can convert one of my documents to plain text. The sound routines, graphics, the God stuff, the Bible and stuff like that. What else we have? The document framework, controls. That's the scroll bar and stuff like that. It could be expanded. We have a slider and we have buttons. That's about it. I don't really find I need them anyway, but you might want them. So we could maybe. Oh, I was going to talk about gentrification. Yeah, the only thing that really needs a hNuth algorithm is updating documents. We have a widget that lets you move the cursor. Let me just show you some of the document features. Cursor movement. So if we give a command to move the cursor 4 lines down, we drew 10 lines and then we came up. Waiting for the bird. So these are done in order, so it moves the cursor over to draw different columns. Sometimes in theory that might be nice. I don't really do anything. Actually, you can move to the center of the window. The borders are done with cursor movements. That's actually a document with cursor movements. I can show you some of the features. So the problem is, since we can move the cursor, we have to redraw everything from the entire document 30 times a second, which normally is not a big deal. We idle at about 5%, I don't know. But if we're inside of the Bible, then we have pretty crappy performance and flashing and stuff. But let me maybe if hNuth wants to think about how to, you can layer. Let me just show you what it's capable of. That I'm going to go to, the Bible's 100,000 lines. We're going to go to line 50,000. And then what we're going to do is move the cursor back 50,000 and over. We're going to do shut up, bird. So we're going to do Control L, and we're going to do a margin, page setting, left margin. Let's say 40. Oops, Control T. Okay. So I just moved over. Now what I'm going to do is I'll just move up a little bit. Control L, cursor movement, just so you can see. Shut up, bird. The bird wants down. Anyway, so shut up, bird. Minus 20. So if you see what I did there. I'm sorry, the bird needs help. Good bird. Okay. So if you see what I did there, I moved the cursor. So this feature is maybe I should get rid of this feature, but I need it to some extent. In theory, you could move 50,000 lines. No, I can do that. I can do that right now, as a matter of fact. I can move, let's do another Control L, page setting, left margin, let's go 60, and let's Control L, cursor movement, let's go minus 40,000. So now we're at 40,000. Is it going to do it? There, at 40,000 we have that. So that's, we have so somehow it would be nice if we could speed that up. So I don't know. I probably shouldn't say anything because there's probably there's no answer that I would like. I just we just live with it. I don't want something really complicated. I have I was going to make a rule. You can only remove lines of code. We don't want any additions. We just want removal. And I would like to give Nuth dollars. Not Nuth dollars. Anyway, let's see what God says. So let's get Alt-Shift. Let's do hold on a second. Alt-Shift F7. God says, all things that he had done, and Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent and took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her, and Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. Then again Abraham took a wife, and her name was Keturah, and she bare him Zimran, Jokshan, and Medan, and Median, and Ishbak, and Shua. Jokshan begat Sheba, Dedan, and sons of Dedan were Ashuram, lettuce him, and lettuce him, that's like lettuce code. Bulky and low calories. I think that's what it is. Anyway, I've seen some places where you have lettuce code. Not in my operating system. Anyway, oh well.